So this is scaffolding through teaching strategies. So right now, at this point, you know what is scaffolding. You know that your level of English must be according to the level of English of the students and maybe a little bit more. But now let's talk about the teaching strategies. And this is the first strategy, activating schema or activating schemata. What is this? Well, let me ask Teresa to read this slide. Teresa, please, would you be so kind to read this?
Yes, teacher, thank you. Activating a schema. Before you start an activity with your students, it's important to take time at the very beginning of the lesson to activate your students' experience and knowledge of a topic to be developed. This is called activated background schema. Doing this immediately engages your students, gets them using English, and sets them up for more successful learning.
Correct. How can you do this? By simply asking the students questions. Like in this case, for example, do you remember this page of the book? You can tell your students, all right, guys, so look at this Ferris wheel. Wow, it has different colors. Look at the pots. How many pots can you see? And the students go, 6 pots. Oh, nice. What color is pot number 1? Oh, it's red. Great. And what color is pot number 2? Oh, it's blue, sky blue. Great, perfect. You see? So I'm not teaching them anything. I'm activating schemata, which means I am activating their previous knowledge, because believe it or not, students know English through movies, through magazines. Maybe they took different courses, or maybe this is not the first English class they are in.
Video games.
Video games too, very common these days. So people know English, and your job as an English teacher is to take advantage of that. Now, here we have some ideas to activate schemata. Number 1, include visuals, realia, discussion, and personalization. Visuals like this, flashcards. You can use flashcards in your classes. You need to use flashcards, guys, especially if you know the students will have problems with a particular part of the class, right? So usually you can usually use, you can use these flashcards. When you get the books, usually most of the books, the teacher's edition of most books, they have additional resources. So you might want to ask the editorial of the book that you're using and ask for these resources, because they already have the material there. So you don't need to prepare anything. Most books these days, they have the resources there. They have poster presentations, they have flashcards, they have the videos, the songs, everything. So it's there. So my recommendation, always look for the teacher's book edition of the book that you're planning to use, or that the school or institute is using. Read the teacher's book, because in the teacher's book, you will find a lot of strategies and ideas you can apply in your classes. Then realia. What is realia? Well, realia is real objects. Like, for example, if you're teaching animals, well, you can bring some animal toys. You're not going to bring a real animal to, that's crazy, right? But you can bring animal toys. So, for example, what's this, guys? It's a horse. Great. Or if you're teaching insects, what insect is this? Oh, what is it? How do you call this? No idea?
I forget.
Okay, well, let's call it, I think it's a beetle or something like that. If it is not, correct me, please, or check it out later. Well, if it is a discussion and personalization as well, right? Now, you can also ask some general questions and have your children brainstorm ideas and knowledge of the topic. Like the questions I asked you before, remember? Look at the Ferris wheel. What color is this? What number is this? How many pots can you see? Things like that. You can also make an explicit link between the topic of the story and the students' own lives and experiences in order to prepare them for successful listening and reading. So if you're teaching children, you're not going to talk about politics, technology, science. They are kids, right? So you should talk about toys. You should talk about food. You should talk about animals, which are the topics that children are into. On the other hand, if you're teaching adults, of course, in that case, you can talk about technology, science, arts, literature. So depending on the type of learners that you have in your classes, the topics that you need to use. And beyond all of the above, excellent reasons for activating background schemata when teaching English is the fact that you will learn a lot of interesting and remarkable facts about your students. Of course. So if you ask your students what they are into, like for example, what are your hobbies, what do you do in your free time, and you can prepare your classes based on this. So if you know that the majority of the students in your classroom love video games, you should use that in your classes. Nowadays, people love to play Roblox, right? Maybe you're familiar with this, Roblox. Most students, most people like to play this video game. I don't know why, but they play Roblox. So maybe you can use a Roblox logo in your next worksheet. And if they see the Roblox logo here, or some kind of character from Roblox here in your worksheet, they will take a look at this and they will say, oh my God, my teacher knows me. She knows what I like. And then the students will pay attention to you because you're showing them that you care for them. So things like this, details like this, believe me, can make a huge difference. Modeling activities, very important. Let me ask this to Erica. Erica, could you please read information?
Modeling activities. How many of us say that we learn best by saying something rather than hearing about it? Modeling for a student is a cornerstone of scaffolding. Have you ever interrupted someone with "just show me"? Just show me, while they were in the middle of explaining to you how to do something. Every chance you have, show or demonstrate to a student exactly what they are expect to do. Always show students the outcome of product before they do it. You can guide students through each step of the process, modeling hand of the finished product. Remember that children's cognitive abilities are still developing. So opportunities for them to see develop critical thinking are essential.
Let me explain. Modeling activities have to do with giving examples. After you give the instructions for an exercise or a game or a song or a video, you need to model the activity, which means that you need to give examples. Because if you only give the instructions and you say, is it clear? Do you understand? Well, most students will say, yes, teacher, we do. But in reality, they don't. Number one, because maybe they are afraid of you, right? They don't want to say yes because maybe they know that you could get angry or things like that. Or in some cases, students are shy. Most students are introvert or shy. So they don't want to raise their hands and say, no, teacher, I don't understand. They don't want to do that because they are shy, okay? So you need to give them a model. You need to give them an example. How? Well, for example, if you are teaching, let's imagine that this is the activity, right? Let's imagine that the activity is listen and sing Ferris wheel. Okay, and let's imagine that they are in the karaoke version. And usually children, not all, but some children are very shy. So you start singing the song. You need to sing it. If you don't sing the song, the students will not trust in you. They would say, why should I sing if my teacher is not singing? I'm not gonna sing. So you are the model. And if you're telling your students to sing, you should do the same thing. You should sing with them. All right? That is modeling by giving them an example. You are the role model of the class. Always give examples, guys. Yes. And well, this is my favorite. And it took me a long time for me to understand this. Giving time to talk. All learners need time to process new ideas and information. They also need time to verbally make sense of their learning. Structured discussions really work best with children regardless of their level. What does it mean? If you are telling your students, okay, guys, we have a project. You have 10 minutes to create a conversation. This is the language that you need to use. This is the situation, and these are the characters that you need to include in your conversation. Well, you need to give them a considerable time to work on the project. 10 minutes would be ideal. You're not going to give them 1 minute. It's impossible to do that in 1 minute. It requires time. So you need to be patient and give your students time to talk. Also, and this happens to me a lot when I started teaching, if you ask them a question, you need to wait for them. Don't expect an immediate answer. If you ask them, Juan, what do we have to do? And then Juan is in silence. You need to wait. Count to 10, maybe count to 20 and wait for Juan to talk. Maybe he needs more confidence. And motivate Juan to talk. You can say, Juan, we are waiting for you. Can you give us a hand? What do we have to do? And then maybe Juan will tell you what to do, or he will tell you that he didn't understand. But you need to give students time to talk, right? My biggest mistake back then when I started teaching is I was very impatient. So I used to ask students a question and I was always expecting for an immediate answer. And of course, it never happened because students' level of English is very low. So it's very important to give your students time to talk. Be patient, wait for them to give you the answer. And this is what we said before. Do you remember the activity with the song? Pre-teaching vocabulary. Well, let me ask Pamela to read the information. Pamela.
Okay. Pre-teaching vocabulary. Pre-teaching vocabulary doesn't mean pulling a dozen words from the chapter and having kids look up definitions and write them out. Instead, introduce the words to kids in photos and in context to things they know and are interested in. Use analogies, metaphors, and invite students to create a symbol or drawing for each word and give time for discussion of the words. With the new words understood, students are ready for the activity.
Right. For example, let's imagine you are going to share a story with your students. This is one of my favorite stories, The Wizard of Oz. Have you read the book? Have you read the story? Yes, The Wizard of Oz? Well, you should. So let's imagine that you have to teach this next week, next class, Monday. You have to teach them this. It's part of the syllabus, it's part of the book. So how do you teach English for stories? Do you just share the story to them and that's it? No, you first pre-teach vocabulary. So number one, you have to read the story in advance. So you're not gonna read the story on the spot, right? That's impossible. So you read the story in advance and then you check what's the vocabulary in this story that you believe is important your students to know by heart. So in this case, we have the stories. I mean, we have different characters. We have the lion. So students need to know the meaning of lion. We have the scarecrow. The students need to know the meaning of a scarecrow. We have the tin man. Students need to know what's the meaning of tin. We have a balloon too. Wizard. They need to know the meaning of wizard. Witch. They need to know the meaning of witch. So if students don't know the meaning of these words, they won't understand the story. So what you can do is you bring some flashcards which show those words, like a picture of a lion. Students, what's this? What animal can you see here? Oh, it's a lion. Oh, perfect, great. And what do you see here? Oh, it's a witch. Great, perfect. And if they don't know, you can just turn around and you can show them the word. What is it? What does it say? Oh, it's a witch. Great. Okay. Now, after you pre-teach them vocabulary, now they are ready to listen to the story. Because if you only read the story to them, half of the class won't get you. They won't understand what you're saying. Mm-hmm. Now, second project. And after this, we have a break. Don't worry. I know that you want to have dinner. After this, we have a 15-minute break. So this is the second activity where I need you to work on. This is from the book, Share It, Macmillan. I'm going to write the name in the chat box. The name of the book is Share It. There you go. By Macmillan. I love Macmillan books, guys. I used to love Pearson's books. But I think Macmillan now, right now, it's much better than Pearson. Just love Macmillan so much. Okay, so Share It, Macmillan, and this book is for students who are between 5 to 7 years old. 5 to even 8, huh? Even 8 years old, yes. And one characteristic of this book is that this is the first step to the first certificate, starters. Yeah, this starters is a Cambridge certificate. It's the first certificate children can get. Yes. So in other words, it's a very useful book. I just got this book for my kid. You know, I have a kid. I have a son who is 7 years old, and he's taking his first international exam this year. Yeah, this December, my son is 7 years old, and he's taking the starters exam this year in December 21st. The date is set. He's taking the exam. Of course, I'm gonna post his picture, his photograph, and it's gonna be a great experience. Anyway, I will tell you more about that, but this is a good book, guys. You should get the book. Great. Anyway, so the unit is unit 5. It's called, the topic my toys and we are teaching vocabulary. You can see a picture, you can see the words, and the activity below. It says listen, point, and chat. So I'm gonna take a screenshot first. There you go. The screenshot, guys, is in the chat box. Don't forget, check your chat box, please. Check the chat box for the book. All right. So, question, how will you teach this? How would you teach this class, this lesson? How would you teach this lesson? Another, oops, sorry, how would you teach? I don't know why it says teacher. Another question, how would you pre-teach vocabulary? All right, think about it. I need you to be creative. How will you pre-teach vocabulary? The topic is toys, but how would you pre-teach it? How would you get the students interested in the topic, right? And well, the questions, guys, are in the chat box, and I'm going to give you 10 minutes to discuss these questions in groups. Is it clear what you're going to do? All right. So I need you to share your ideas in groups, and let's do the work. Go. The book is in the chat box, guys. Don't forget. All right, guys, welcome back. Will you share your ideas? How will you teach these lessons? Volunteers, raise your hands, please. How will you teach? How will you start? How will you continue? How will you finish it?
Teacher, can I speak?
Of course.
In my case, thinking my students, because they are, for example, I can let's start with matching the vocabulary with the picture.
Okay.
Then maybe after listening, it can be pre-listening. During the listening, maybe they try to identify the picture with the vocabulary. Okay, and listen them, and maybe then repeat. After this, to finish, after listening, it can be I tell my students to create a sentences with each vocabulary according to the picture. For example, in this case, the ball is blue. The doll is pink, like this. Okay. Create the sentences.
Sentences. Okay, I'm not quite sure about the sentences yet, but okay, I like it. Anyone else, please, who would like to add to Teresa's point of view? Pamela?
Yeah. Well, in my case, I would use the magic box.
The magic box.
Where I can put different toys. So I can ask my students to grab one of them and say, oh, this is a ball, one by one. Then I can put all the toys together and ask them to reinforce the vocabulary. I can ask them what is this and that, something like that, and repeat after me. And then as a production, I can ask them to draw themselves with their favorite toys. Then I can introduce the book and say, oh, look, I can ask them, okay, we are going to play the guessing game. It is blue, it is round, so what's this? And they can say, it's a ball, for example. You know?
Wow. I love it. I like it. I like it. There were a lot of ideas in your opinion. For example, to begin with, the magic box. Guys, have you heard of the strategy, the magic box before? Yes, right? So the magic box or the magic bag, if you want to, you have a bag or have a box. Inside the box, you put all the toys that you can see in this picture, like the ball, the doll, the teddy bear. And then you make the students, or you yourself, you pick one by one. And then, for example, you tell Juan, can you please pick the first object? Okay, Juan cannot see the object, but he can feel it, he can touch it. And he or she needs to guess what the object is just by touching the object, right? If he gets it, he gets 1 point. If he doesn't guess it, he gets no points, right? So it's a very exciting activity for pre-teaching vocabulary because you make the students excited, you make the students curious about, oh my God. I mean, children love boxes. For some reason, children love boxes. They want to see what is inside the box, okay? So you can take advantage of that by using the magic box or the magic bag. Number 2, drawing themselves with their favorite toy, I believe is a great activity. I wouldn't use it before the vocabulary. I would use it after the vocabulary. So after activity 1 and 2, I would tell them, okay, now it's time for you to draw yourself with your favorite toy. So that is a productive activity. So I would do it, yes, but as an activity free, not before 1 or 2, but after activity 2. And yeah, but those were great ideas, guys. Great. I mean, this is the idea. You see, we learn from different ideas, not only from me, but from your partners as well.